you're hiring teenagers and college kids to make 60 cookies at a time and then weigh them by hand, portion them by hand. And then you're not getting the economies of scale on your flour, sugar, butter because you're buying it in 50-pound bags, not super sacks and not truckloads. So I wanted to centralize the production model. That was the first thing. I'm going to make all the cookies, ship it out to you. You just put it in the oven. It's all formulated for the same time, temperature, and fan speed. So you just press start and you can bake any cookie in any Dirty Dough store today.
I'm Larry Sprung, your host for the Mitlin Money Mindset and founder and wealth advisor of Mitlin Financial. Today's guest is Bennett Maxwell, entrepreneur and chairman of Dirty Dough Cookies. Bennett is a dynamic entrepreneur known for his innovative approach to business and his passion for creating unique experiences. As the chairman of Dirty Dough Cookies, Bennett has transformed a simple idea into a rapidly growing brand that has captured the hearts and taste buds of cookie lovers everywhere. Dirty Dough is celebrated for its delicious stuffed cookies that bring a fresh, fun twist to a classic favorite. Bennett's journey in building Dirty Dough is a testament to his relentless drive, creative vision, and commitment to quality. His leadership has not only fueled the growth of the brand, but has also inspired others in the entrepreneurial community to think outside the box and pursue their own ventures with passion and purpose. Join us as we explore Bennett Maxwell's entrepreneurial path, discover the secret recipe behind Dirty Dough Cookies' success, and learn how his innovative mindset can inspire you to achieve your own business goals. Well, I am super excited today to have Bennett Maxwell, entrepreneur, chairman of Dirty Dough Cookies, on the show today. Welcome to the show, Bennett.
Thanks, Larry. I'm excited to be here.
We are too. And, I'm always fascinated with the entrepreneurial journey. I think, like everybody, there are some similarities, but there are a lot of differences on how people get to where they are. And we'll talk a lot about what you're doing today with Dirty Dough Cookies. But can you give our listeners a little bit background about Bennett Maxwell? What brought you to the point of becoming the chairman of that company?
Yes. Grew up in Utah, one of 9 kids raised by a single mom, 7 boys, so it was a blast.
Good boy.
Um, and it's like every 2 years that she was having kids. So really close with all my siblings, and growing up, it was you get with one of your brothers and go sell something if you want some money. So we sold kind of everything, lawn aeration, door to door, and then before that, candy bars in elementary and the shaved ice, all of that. So really got into the sales background. Also raised very religiously in the Mormon culture here, which led me to a Mormon mission, which is 2 years of sales and follow up and all of that great stuff. I did a lot of door to door sales, and which led me to owning a solar company. I was an investor into Dirty Dough early on, the to allow the company to go from selling cookies out of an apartment to a storefront. So I had invested into it, sold my solar company, and wanted the next thing, and I ended up purchasing Dirty Dough, which was kind of wild because I've never been in food or franchising. Um, but that's the quick summary of how I got into Dirty Dough.
Amazing. I mean, so was there, I guess your siblings were really your role model in terms of the entrepreneurial journey because you were all kind of exploring this together. Is that kind of where it came from?
Yeah, and I didn't grow up with my dad, or my grandpa, obviously, but they're both big entrepreneurs. So it's still like there. And then, yes, very lucky to have a lot of siblings that were willing to take the risk and, go sell. Another thing that I forgot about that my father recently reminded me of is we sold snow shovels door to door back in junior high. That was all great. And then when I was doing the door to door sales, I was doing solar and it was great. You work like 4 to 8 p.m., 5 days a week, and you make a few sales a week typically, and you're making 5 to 10 grand. You're like, this is great. Well, my brother that's 13 years older than me said, well, why aren't you doing this online? I'm like, because I'm an idiot. I don't know how to do any of that. He'd bought a franchise when he was 22 years old. So, and now he's in his 40s. He has a lot more business experience. So I think him, particularly out of all my brothers, like I actually learned business from him because he was my business partner in doing solar. So yes, very, very fortunate to get a good role model there.
Yeah. So, I mean, for all the people that we've had on the show, we've had a lot of founders on the show. And, you're the first one who is a founder, but isn't a founder to to some degree. So can you explain that and how Dirty Dough came to be kind of all in one and how you're a
Yeah.
founder but not a founder? I think it's an interesting story.
Yeah, so Dirty Dough started at the end of 2018, um, out of an apartment in Arizona, Arizona State University. He was a guy that I went to high school with, a little friend of my little brother. So he'd posted and said, "Hey, I sell out cookies most nights. Looking for an investor to open up a storefront." So I invested summer of 19. That store opened March of 2020. Wednesday was the government shutdowns. Friday was the grand opening. Talk about timing. I was in San Diego. That's where I lived doing my solar company. And at the end of the year, Crumble opened up in San Diego and they did $3.6 million out of one stupid cookie
Amazing.
store. I'm like, dude, this is the market. Let's franchise it. I'm going to be your first franchisee. He kind of delayed it for a few months. And then afterwards, he's like, I haven't even started. I'm looking to exit. And I was like, crap. I just listened to a podcast that said true wealth is in investing in real estate and businesses. And I bought in a few rental properties, have a few rental properties, but I never invested or owned a business as far as buying a business. So it's a little bit of that, a little bit of like, crap, who's he going to sell it to? Are they going to be able to run it? Am I going to lose my initial investment? And I'm like, I'm going to roll the dice and buy the business, even though I live out of state. I don't know how to make cookies, all of that. But I figured like, what is Crumble? What is Chip? What are these other competitors, Mrs. Fields, doing that I can't learn how to do or find somebody that already knows how to do it? So that was kind of the mindset. And going into it, everything was purchased at a store level, which is good in the sense that you have your control right there, but you're hiring teenagers and college kids to make 60 cookies at a time and then weigh them by hand, portion them by hand. And then you're not getting the economies of scale on your flour, sugar, butter because you're buying it in 50-pound bags, not super sacks and not truckloads. So I wanted to centralize the production model. That was the first thing. I'm going to make all the cookies, ship it out to you. You just put it in the oven. It's all formulated for the same time, temperature, and fan speed. So you just press start and you could bake any cookie in any Dirty Dough store today. Like that's the model that we're creating and have created is all on the simplicity. So right off the bat, when we franchised, which was towards the end, it was December of 21. I'm like, okay, well, I was building up a team of advisors. So I got my first advisor and I was stoked. And he, very good business guy. His first business IPO'd for $30 billion. I'm like, this guy's playing at a different level. Then he brought in our second advisor, Steve Hart, who owns Property Management Inc., the largest property management franchisor. So now we have somebody with franchising experience, and I'm still searching for that third advisor. And I found someone named Jill Summer Hayes, who started a company called Maui Wowie Smoothies and Coffee back in '83. So it's been 40 years, and she's still going strong. She grew it up to 600 something franchises before exiting, and now she just sits on the board. I'm like, Jill, we need you as an advisor. Like, this is a very similar model. And she says, you don't need me as an advisor. You need me to run this thing. And I'm like, if that's an option, I will go back to knocking doors to pay your salary because I know you'll run it better. So up until then, I purchased it. I was the CEO because, technically not the founder. Then I hired a CEO. I was like, hey, what is my role? And I think she didn't say president because she wanted me more separated from the operations. She's like, you're founder because you found the company and bought it.
So you're a founder who's not a founder, but
Founder that's not a founder, and then now I'm a chairman.
because Jill says so.
That's
there,
what I am.
there you go. There you go. So you kind of alluded this in the last part of our conversation about creating a method of ease, right? In terms of not relying on kids and college students to kind of figure this all out on their own. And one of the things I know you talk about is making Dirty Cookie the easiest franchise ever. Why was that a goal of yours?
Coming from the solar industry and the door-to-door industry, I had to make it work for me. So when I'd purchase the company, I would visit the store typically once a month. I'd either drive or fly out in the morning and drive and fly out in the evening. So it was, okay, well, if I can show that I could manage a store remotely, and then I'm now having all the pain points. I'm like, oh crap, they ran out of this again, they ran out of that. I'm like, how do we solve all those issues? So I was building it for me and people like me. I think that there's almost an infinite amount of capital out there. Um, but to buy a franchise, it's not just capital, right? It's, well, you have to actually run it. So, and food in particular is typically the hardest as far as employees go. So it's really lasering in on how to reduce employee count, along with other things. But it was me pitching 100 people before I franchised and said, hey, let me tell you about what I'm thinking about doing and getting everybody's feedback. And everybody's feedback was, if you can centralize it and I can operate at 500 square feet with one employee at low startup costs, then that's something that, has some potential. And then I created that and I went back to those people and a lot of them bought franchises.
Interesting. So basically, you used market research, is what I'm hearing, in terms of figuring out how to simplify things and then basically taking those best ideas and implementing it. And as it turned out, some of those folks really bought into the concept and came on board as franchise owners as well.
Yes, we hit the gates. Like right when we franchised, we sold like 30 the first month, which is pretty unheard of. That was because I was telling everybody about the idea. I took a startup course from that advisor that I mentioned before, John Richards. And before I was like, kind of, okay, cookies are exploding. I don't want to tell everybody that I'm going to centralize it. I'm going to do stuffed cookies and 3-layer cookies. And he's like, tell everybody because you'll get more feedback. Nobody's going to steal your idea because it's just an idea. The reason why nobody's done it before is because it's hard and costs money and work. So that kind of changed my mentality of like, I'm just going to tell everybody everything. And the chain reaction or snowball effect of that, kind of like I explained earlier, I got one advisor who got the next advisor, and then I leveraged their names to get the next advisor. And now our CEO is the former CEO of Jimmy John's. And I don't think there's any way that he would have came on unless he saw the rest of the team and the franchises we sold, which we couldn't have sold franchises because who wants to buy a franchise from a solar guy? You know, so it kind of all feeds into each other.
Yeah, I mean, as an entrepreneur, how important do you feel is market research?
Oh, 1,000%. I think oftentimes because you become attached to, emotionally attached to your idea or your business, you don't want to change grandma's recipe, right? Because it's grandma's recipe. Um, I think it was very advantageous for me to come in and purchase the company, or maybe that's more my personality. I don't know, but I've never been emotionally attached to the recipe. So it's like, okay, let's just go out and do the market research. And if it says that this is the worst cookie in the world, I don't care. And even if I love it, it doesn't matter because I'm not the one buying it every day,
Right.
right? So I think it is important to get the market research and actually listen to the feedback rather than like, okay, I get the feedback, but I can't change this because this is the way that my brother, or my mom, or my business partner wanted to do it.
Imagine a relationship where financial conversations don't feel stressful, but actually bring you joy. We've designed a guide to help you have positive, meaningful money conversations with your partner. This isn't just another budgeting tool, it's a roadmap for building trust and connection. So if you're ready to start a joyful money journey with your partner, go to mitlin.us/couplesjoy and download your free guide. Transform your financial future together starting today. Yeah, I think that's critical, right? If you can open yourself up to that vulnerability and be interested in soliciting that feedback, you have to be willing to also implement it and take it and not just excuse your way out of it, right? So to speak. So,
Yeah.
one of the things you mentioned before is about the people that you've brought into the mix for this company, and and we've talked before on this show with other entrepreneurs how critical it is to hire people who are smarter than you or have different skill sets. What was the catalyst for your growth, in terms of these folks that you brought on board, and what skill sets do they have that, you felt were vitally necessary for your business and more importantly, the business growth?
The first catalyst was me taking a startup course from John Richards and learning that even small businesses that are not like it's one store businesses that aren't a franchise yet can have an advisory board. And an advisory board is not a board of directors. It's different. I'm like, what? I didn't even know that. Advisory board, you get really top tier talented people that will answer your phone call. The expectation that we set is give me an hour of your time a week without it being structured, right? And here's a percent
Mhm.
equity over a 2-year vesting period. So if it doesn't work out, the company can take back that equity. And then you get these all-star people for a half a percent of equity. So one was just learning about it. I didn't know that that was a possibility. And then now that I've learned about it, okay, well, how do I go get the best board of advisors? Well, I'm gonna start with the guy teaching me about how to run a business and doing the startup course. So, one was just learning about it and like, okay, now I can set it up, and without giving away 10% of my business or without giving away, $100,000, whatever like that. And then once you set it up, it just like I mentioned before, it kind of snowballs after that. I've always had the sales hat on, right? Like what product is going to sell? What do I need to present in order for you to buy? And if what you want to buy and what I'm going to present is different, but I'm also the owner of the company, I have the advantage of, well, I can go kind of switch that. But I do think it comes down to people. In my belief, people don't want to buy a franchise from Bennett Maxwell, but people will buy a franchise from Jill Summer Hayes or Greg Majewski, who is the former CEO of Jimmy John. So me being always sales minded, I think is why I did that. And how I did it is also me being always sales minded. How do you get these people on your board? You have to pitch them a vision, right? It's all about sales and it's all about communication. Hey, John, I'm not worth anything right now. We have a store that
Mhm.
we have one store. We're not a franchise yet, but I need your help, right? Because look at where we're going. So I think that kind of a mixture of all three of those things is how I was able to recruit the team.
Yeah, amazing. And one of the things that we've seen here at our firm is how taglines can make a, huge impact on a business, right? It becomes viral, people catch on to it, people start using it in their own vernacular, and your tagline is it's the inside that counts, and that has become central to your growth. Where did that tagline come from, and why do you think it's been so vital to your growth?
Yeah, there's a few months of overlap when I purchased Dirty Dough and I sold the solar company. And not that it was more hard than it has been since. I feel like it just keeps getting hard. But that was very difficult. And I had this goal that I wanted $1 million net worth before the age of 30 because I thought I could achieve it. And obviously, all your problems go away at that time, right? So I just put everything aside to hit that goal. And I sold the solar company, I achieved it, and I was like, sweet. And then almost immediately, I mean, within a few days, it was like, okay, now it's 2 million, now it's 10 million, whatever the next goal was, which kind of caused me to step back and say, okay, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. Keep in mind, I was 310 pounds. My health was not in great shape. I'm at 195 right now, so I've lost 310 pounds since I've
Oh, congrats.
changed my focus. But the change of focus is, why am I building a business? What's the mission statement? And I hired a business coach and they helped me through that. And I narrowed down that everything that I want to do leads me to feeling more joy or more fulfillment. Like that's what I'm after. How do you achieve that? It's about mindset or mental health. So I wanted to incorporate that into Dirty Dough and what's on the inside that matters. Um, and that's how we get these three-layer cookies. It looks like a plain looking cookie, a peanut butter cookie on the outside. But when you break it open, there's a chocolate dough in the middle with a hot fudge injection. And that's a representation of life. Like, don't wait for life to be perfect. Don't wait to sell your solar company. Don't wait to be your millionaire in order to find joy and fulfillment.
So basically, what I'm hearing is you've really transformed Dirty Dough into a representation of almost your why, so to speak.
Yes. When I figured out my mission statement, which is finding joy and fulfillment despite life's dirtiness in myself and others,
Mhm.
then I go back to my business coach. I say, hey, now how do I do my business mission statement? And he goes, you dummy. It's the same thing. Your business is an extension of you in order to help you achieve what you want to achieve. So if you go on our website, verbatim, you'll read that there. Um, and once we put it up there, which I had a lot of mixed feelings about, like, mission statements and what do they mean? Is it phony? Are people following them? But once I started throwing it on the website and like you have to read that and the core values before you apply to a franchise, it just attracted a certain type of person. And I feel like that's the type of people that are into my solar mindset. I just want more money because one day the next thing that I'm going to get is going to really give me the fulfillment that I've been after my whole life. Which is like, nope, I don't really think that that's going to be true.
But I think the cookies are a good representation of those core values, and I agree. We're big on we have core values here. We recite them as a team every Tuesday, and we also one of our team members will cite an example from our week before that's representative of those core values. And I think, like you said, you end up having people who self select in, but also self select out, because when they see them, they're like, listen, I'm not interested in doing this. I'm just interested in selling the next solar system or whatever their next is. And they're not interested in like abiding or following a set of core values. So they're very good in that way.
And I think that has been very true for us in kind of filtering the people coming in. Aside from that, business decisions that I have to make are, you have advisors and CEOs and friends and everybody's giving you all of this advice. And most of it comes down to, I'm going to give you the advice to make your business the most revenue slash profit. But most revenue slash profit is not in the mission statement, right? So it's like now it was a lot easier. Like, is this going to bring my business more revenue or is this one? Well, I don't know, but I'm going to choose. Well, that's not the question. Is it this option going to bring me more joy and fulfillment, or is this option? And that's such an easier, clearer choice
Sure.
when you go back to your core values to make decisions rather than like, how do I take advice from 30 different people?
Right. Yeah, it definitely leads you to that guidepost, so to speak, right?
Yep.
And one of the things you said earlier, which we're big on the Mitlin money mindset. Well, besides joy, which you already talked about, is mental health. It's very important. I personally have sat on. I had sat on the national board for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention for about 14 years. I lost my brother-in-law to suicide about 20 years ago, and we still fundraise today for their mission in order to help those that are either struggling or affected by suicide in some way. And I know that your whole mission statement and kind of your construct had you putting mental health forward, even so much as forward facing in your stores, from we care about your feelings in the store windows and to mental health messages on even your packaging. How have you seen that whole stance and being forward with regard to mental health? How have you seen that have an impact on the business and on those customers of Dirty Dough Cookies?
When I was starting to do that push, again, I alluded to it a little bit earlier that I was a little bit hesitant, like, well, how is this going to be perceived? And then it was just like, well, who cares? Just freaking, just get out there and do it. So when we got out there and started promoting it and changed the tagline and added that to the packaging, I felt like I was kind of the only one pushing. Everybody else was like, "Oh, this is a waste of time," and I'm like, "Maybe it is, but it is something I believe in." Um, I am 100% positive though that people are attracted to the brand, both consumers and franchisees, because those are my two customers, right? People who
Sure.
are buying from the franchisees and the franchisees themselves. Both of them are attracted to, let's make a difference. And when I did pest control, you go and recruit a bunch of college kids, and everybody in Utah is recruiting from I mean, you're recruiting like 50 different people, and you're like, come with me because I'm going to make you more money. No, come with me because I'm going to buy you a Lamborghini. Come with me. And it's all just numbers and flashing. Like, you can make 200 grand in the summer and you're only 20 years old. And whatever. What I shifted that to is, let me teach you how to be a professional communicator. And we did finance Fridays, and I've kind of kept through that always through any of my sales career. Let me teach you, if you only make 40 grand with me in the summer, but you buy a house and you rent it out for 30 year. And like, we were going over different strategies, but I focused more on who you're going to become after the summer, both in a financial education and then a communication. And I was able to be very successful in recruiting. And then if somebody came out and their goal was to make $60,000, but they only made 50, that wasn't really their focus. Their focus was be a better communicator and more financially literate. And I think that really set me apart. And I think something similar has happened at Dirty Dough. As we're getting franchisees who are looking at different opportunities. It's like, either one, you can make money, either one you can fail, but this one you can make money and do good, or you can fail and do good while you're failing.
Right. And I mean, it sounds like it really was in line with those core values, right? Of bringing joy, because it feels like to me that it brings you joy to kind of talk and kind of elevate people with regard to their mental health and share that with people as well.
Well, absolutely. So that the mission statement is joy and fulfillment, and then how do you spread joy and fulfillment? It's broken down to two pillars. And that first one is mental health or mindset. Like, it's in your mind. So, and what about mental health or mindset needs to be changed. And it's typically expectations versus reality equals your mood, right? If
Mhm.
your expectations are so high because we're always on social media, we're watching the news or whatever, but our reality stays the same, that distance is what I believe is one of the major drivers for the mental health crisis going on. So, how do we bring that together? And it's promoting don't wait for life to be perfect in order for it to be enjoyed. Like this is a dirty, messy cookie, but I promise you, you can enjoy it. It's freaking delicious.
Right. Well, listen, let's talk about that for a second because I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. I mean, you have a lot of flavors, a lot of flavors that you've made with your, through your weekly rotations, et cetera. What is or which is your favorite, or do you have a favorite?
Man, I don't know if I have a favorite because they're rotating all the time. My last favorite that I remember saying, "Oh, this is my favorite now," was a pumpkin cookie, a pumpkin cheesecake. I don't know. It was delicious though, because I'm in on the taste testers. I'm not always going into the stores, but when it's time to taste some cookies, I like that part.
Okay. Do you repeat that? I know it's on a weekly rotation. Do they get repeated quite frequently, or how does that work? How do you come up with that rotation?
Yeah, typically once a quarter is all that they're being rotated. So we've changed our model. Before it was here's 60 different cookies, we'll ship them out to you. Well, that quickly got really expensive and complicated trying to ship cookies from from Utah to Pennsylvania, Florida, California. We have 80 something stores or franchises open across the nation. We're in 25 states, but that's not that many stores to have in 25 states. So instead, we reduced it. I think we carry 13 bases, and then each of those bases are all stuffed, and then we're building different flavor profiles based on the toppings, which we still have our 50, 60 different flavor profiles, and they're still not rotating more than once a quarter or so. But now the franchisees don't ever have to deal with like, oh crap, am I going to sell out of this cookie? Oh crap, I already sold out of it cookie. It made
Right.
waste go down almost to zero, which has been really nice.
Yeah, going back to the whole conversation we had about making it the easiest franchise ever, I'm sure that was super helpful to that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, listen, Bennett, listen, as we've talked about so far, we're all about joy on the Mitlin Money Mindset. And, this conversation is no different. I love cookies. They bring a lot of joy to my life, but this is about you today. So we ask each of our guests the same final question, which is what did you do today that brought you joy and put you in the right mindset for success?
Yoga, that's what I did this morning.
Okay.
Um, because it was today, right? It just has to be today. I'm like, "What have I even done today?" I've had other phone calls. No, definitely yoga. Prioritizing physical health and how the physical body I mean, I love how we say mental health and physical health. It's like, well, what is mental health without physical health?
Right.
Mental health is physical. It's the chemistry in your brain. But really leaning into having time with your body. With yoga, I like it because it's a lot of it is meditative or meditation involved in it. So, anyways, if you haven't tried it, I know it's me and a bunch of old women at the gym doing yoga together, but it's amazing. I love the group.
Is there a specific kind of yoga you like? Like, I'm not. In full disclosure, I don't think I've ever done yoga, but I know plenty of people do. I know there's like hot yoga. I know there's goat yoga. I know there's. Is there a specific type that you enjoy more than another?
It's just the local gym yoga with Linda, my teacher. No, I don't know. I've done hot yoga a time or two, which was great. But yeah, you're just sweating the whole time. Never heard of goat, like goat as in the animal.
Yeah, yeah. You've never
Okay.
seen that?
No,
Gotta YouTube it. Yeah, you
I'll
basically
YouTube it right
you
after
do
this.
yoga poses and like a baby goat is on your back and stuff. It's pretty interesting. It takes a lot of skill to keep them balanced and you balanced. So I know it sounds like I know what I'm talking about, but I've only seen it. I've never done it. But I'm not that I'm not that I don't have that skill set. I probably end up
Yeah.
dumping the goat off my back or something, uh, mistakenly. So I haven't gone down that route yet, but maybe you'll give it a try and let me know.
I'll come out to you and we'll find a goat yoga place and and we'll go out together.
Around, you got it. I'll hold you to that. If you make your way out to Long Island, we'll go do goat yoga together.
It sounds like a plan.
Yeah. So listen, Bennett, we're going to have all of your information in the show notes. But if people want to learn more about your story, learn more about Dirty Dough Cookie, what's the easiest and the best way for them to do that?
You have a website, bennettmaxwell.com, just my first and last name, that has links to all my social media, podcasts. Because I have a podcast that focuses on joy and fulfillment as well, Deeper Than Dough, which is always fun. But yeah, from there, I try to post twice a day on each platform, mainly talking about business, mental health, parenting, work life balance, and a lot about health as well.
Awesome. Well, go check that out. I think you'll find his story interesting, and he's got a lot of good things coming down the pike, I'm sure. And we thank you for your time, Bennett, and enjoy your day.
Thank you, Larry.
I want to thank Bennett Maxwell for being a guest on the Mitlin Money Mindset. Bennett is a serial entrepreneur who brings passion and purpose to all that he does. Taglines have made a huge impact on his businesses, most recently with "It's the inside that counts" for Dirty Dough Cookies. He also understands that true joy is not derived by a certain amount of money, but your mental mindset. Mental health and taglines are things that have resonated with our show from the very beginning, and Bennett is a great example of an entrepreneur who is very much aligned with us. Bennett Maxwell and Dirty Dough Cookies can be found across most social media platforms. All the contact information needed to find them can be found in the show notes.